The disappearance of Brian Shaffer remains one of the most baffling and haunting mysteries in true crime history. On the night of April 1, 2006, Brian vanished without a trace from the Ugly Tuna Saloon, a popular bar in Columbus, Ohio. Despite extensive investigations, surveillance footage, and numerous theories, no definitive answers have emerged. Deep into the details surrounding Brian's disappearance, explores the evidence, and presents the most plausible explanations for what might have happened to him. Who was Brian Shaffer? Brian Shaffer was a 27-year-old second-year medical student at Ohio State University, known by friends and family as a kind, simple man with big dreams. Born on February 25, 1979, in Pickerington, Ohio, he was the son of Randy and Renee Shaffer and had a younger brother named Derek. Brian's passions included listening to Pearl Jam and dreaming of a laid-back life owning an island, sipping margaritas, and enjoying music by Jimmy Buffett. Life had recently dealt Brian a heavy blow. His mother, Renee, was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer called myelodysplastic syndrome, MDS, the year before Brian disappeared. For him, Renee was the greatest and most wonderful person in the world, and her illness deeply affected him. Around the same time, Brian had started dating Alexis Wagoner, a fellow medical student. Their relationship was serious, and Renee encouraged Brian to propose to Alexis soon. In fact, she gifted them a trip to Miami for their upcoming spring break. The emotional turmoil before disappearance. Tragedy struck again on March 6, 2006, when Renee passed away. Brian was devastated and struggled to cope with the loss. He confided in Alexis that he was in a dark place and even asked her to run away with him, though it remains unclear if this was said in jest or earnest. Despite his emotional state, Alexis stood by his side, and they continued to plan their Miami trip. Brian poured himself into his studies, pulling all-nighters to prepare for his finals. By the end of March, he was exhausted and emotionally drained, needing a break to de-stress. On March 31st, Brian had dinner with his father, Randy, to celebrate finishing his finals and, possibly, to discuss proposing to Alexis during their upcoming trip. Afterward, he called his brother Derek and invited him and Derek's girlfriend to join him at the Ugly Tuna Saloon following a comedy show. Derek and his girlfriend declined, marking the last time the brothers spoke. The night Brian disappeared. On the night of March 31st, Brian met up with his friend William Clint Florence to embark on a bar crawl through Columbus University District. They started at the Ugly Tuna Saloon around 9 p.m. At 10 p.m., Brian spoke with Alexis, who was visiting her parents in Toledo, confirming their plans for Miami and expressing his love for her. Later, Clint invited Meredith Reed to join them. The trio went to the Short North area before returning to the Ugly Tuna for a final round around 1:15 a.m. Security footage captured the three riding an escalator to the bar's second floor, where they met two women, one a student of Clint's. Around 1:55 a.m., Brian was seen outside the bar talking to the women, then walking away. This was the last confirmed sighting of Brian Shaffer. Crucially, the CCTV cameras did not cover the bar's entrance, leaving uncertainty about whether Brian re-entered. By closing time at 2 a.m., Clint and Meredith realized Brian was missing. Attempts to call him went unanswered, and searches inside the bar, including the men's restroom, yielded no sign of him. Assuming he had gone home, the friends left. The investigation begins. The following day, Brian's absence became alarming when he missed the flight to Miami. Alexis and Brian's father, Randy, tried repeatedly to contact him without success. Randy visited Brian's apartment but found everything normal. The bed was made, his car was parked outside, medical books were neatly arranged, and all personal belongings were intact. Derek also stopped by, finding Alexis waiting for Brian's return. Police were alerted to Brian's disappearance, launching an intensive investigation led by Detective John Hurst. Nearly 50 officers interviewed friends, acquaintances, and the women seen on security footage. Clint claimed he saw Brian return inside the bar but lost track of him in the crowd. Meredith agreed to a lie detector test, but Clint refused further cooperation and hired an attorney, eventually ceasing communication with police. Authorities conducted thorough searches of the bar, nearby hospitals, homeless shelters, dumpsters along Pearl Alley, and the banks of the Olentangy River using cadaver dogs. Despite exhaustive efforts, no trace of Brian was found. This was particularly perplexing given Columbus was one of the most surveilled cities in Ohio, with numerous security cameras in the area. The enigma of the missing footage. Security footage from cameras around the bar and surrounding establishments painted a baffling picture. Cameras showed Brian and his friends ascending the escalator to the second floor at 1:15 a.m. Around 2 a.m., footage captured only Clint and Meredith descending the escalator. The cameras covering the bar's emergency exit did not show Brian leaving, and every other patron who entered the bar was accounted for. Even if Brian had left through a blind spot inside the bar, cameras from nearby bars, Sloppy Donkey, Mad Mex, Lucky Stout House, would likely have recorded him leaving the area. Yet, no footage showed Brian walking away from the vicinity. It was as if he had vanished into thin air from one of the most monitored places in the city. Ongoing search and false leads. The Shaffer family and police posted missing person flyers and reached out to the public for help. Tips came from across the country and around the globe, with sightings reported in Atlanta and Sweden. Some speculated foul play or a voluntary disappearance, but none provided conclusive evidence. Randy Shaffer, Brian's father, even hired psychics who led him to search near the river. Derek and Alexis kept calling Brian's phone, hoping for a response. In September 2006, Alexis's call triggered the phone to ring 3 times before going to voicemail. The GPS allegedly placed the phone near Hilliard, Ohio, 14 miles northwest of Columbus, but the cellular provider attributed this to a system glitch. The lack of GPS tracking technology at the time and the provider's explanation cast doubt on the lead. In May 2006, Brian's apartment was burglarized, but police confirmed this incident was unrelated to his disappearance. The case gradually grew cold, but public interest and police efforts never ceased. A $25,000 reward was initially offered by Crime Stopper, later increased to $100,000 by Central Ohio Crime Stoppers. Tragedy strikes the Shaffer family again. In a cruel twist of fate, Randy Shaffer died in a freak accident 2 years after Brian's disappearance. A falling tree branch struck him on the head during a windstorm, and his body was found the next morning. This left Derek as the sole remaining member of the close-knit family, having lost his mother, brother, and father within just a few years. Shortly after Randy's death, an online obituary message surfaced, signed, "Dad, I love you. Love, Brian, U.S. Virgin Islands." Although this seemed to hint that Brian was alive and living on an island, his dream destination, the police traced the message to a public computer in Franklin County, confirming it was a hoax. Recent developments and theories. The Ugly Tuna Saloona closed its doors in 2018, and in 2020, a photo of a homeless man in Tijuana sparked renewed hope. The photo was sent to Detective Blanche Tucker of the Columbus Police Missing Persons Unit and forwarded to the FBI for facial recognition analysis. The FBI ruled out the man as Brian Shaffer. In 2021, marking 15 years since Brian's disappearance, the Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation and the Columbus Division of Police released an age-progressed image showing what Brian might look like at age 42. Law enforcement hopes the updated image may generate new leads and bring closure to Brian's loved ones. Several theories have been proposed over the years. Voluntary disappearance. Some suggest Brian ran away to escape the pressures of medical school and his personal turmoil. However, the lack of any activity on his accounts, no use of credit cards, and the absence of packed belongings make this unlikely. Suicide. Though Brian was grieving, friends and family insist he was not suicidal. Additionally, no body or evidence of suicide has ever been found, and it is common for individuals who die by suicide to want to be found. Foul play. Some have speculated murder, including links to the infamous smiley face killer theory. Yet, no evidence supports this, and the investigation has not uncovered any suspects. Accidental death. Brian could have left through a less monitored exit leading to a construction site and suffered a fatal accident. However, cadaver dogs found no scent, and police believe there is no plausible place nearby where his body could have gone undiscovered. The most likely explanation. Despite the many theories, the simplest explanation often holds the most weight: Occam's razor. Brian likely died shortly after leaving the bar, sometime around 2 a.m. on April 1, 2006. The last footage showing him heading toward a stairwell and service area suggests he may have slipped out unnoticed through a back door. The area was known for high crime rates, and it is possible he encountered foul play during his walk home. Why no body or evidence has been found remains a mystery. The delay in reporting Brian missing meant dumpsters could have been emptied, removing potential clues. Additionally, the technology of the time limited the ability to track his phone or movements precisely, and some surveillance cameras were defective or had blind spots. Brian's disappearance is a tragic reminder of how even in a highly surveilled environment, a person can vanish without a trace. His family's relentless search and the ongoing efforts of law enforcement keep hope alive that one day, answers will emerge.